You're listening to the Corporate Misfit Podcast with Brittany Darrington, where female entrepreneurs can get powerful tips and advice on how to start, launch, and grow their business.
Christine, thank you so much for joining me today on the Corporate Misfit Podcast. I am so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and have a chat with you.
Yes. Okay. So your background, first off, so many people are terrified of sales and marketing, and you actually have a full-on background in this. Can you tell me how you got started in helping people accelerate in their sales for their online business and whatnot?
Yeah, so it was kind of a natural transition. In the last 2 years of my corporate career, I started to feel that, that kind of inner calling, burning that there was something else for me. I had achieved everything that I wanted to achieve in my corporate career. So it was kind of like, okay, what's next? What's the next challenge going to be? And it was a process of a good 6 months where I really, did a lot of soul searching, and I ended up writing down 3 points that I wanted to have in my next career. Like, I really designed it from the bottom up. And one was, I wanted to be able to work from anywhere. I wanted to have uncapped earning potential. So that, I wasn't bound by a salary or commissions or anything. And the third was I wanted to stay in fashion or somehow creative. And so from that, I came up with web design.
Wow.
So,
and then,
amazing. Yeah.
And then, and also too, with web design, you not only just create web design, you help people actually convert sales and actually get further along with having a website instead of just having a website and it's not converting.
Totally. And when I started 2 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a web designer. And then as I started really working with clients and really listening to what people were coming to me for, and digging a little deeper, I realized, they didn't just need a website. They actually needed more sales. And that's why they thought, okay, I'll try a new website, or, they were just kind of in that looking or seeking phase. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I started to expand to email marketing and overarching strategy. We're really looking like, okay, what do you want to achieve? And then kind of taking all the tools from my tool belt, so to speak, and then figuring out what was the fastest way to achieve those goals.
I love that. I love that. Now, I want to go back a step. You said that you took some time to just really identify what it is that you wanted to do and just kind of write down what kind of life you actually wanted to build for yourself. Yep. Now, what usually happens when people leave their 9-to-5 is that they're so ready to leave that they don't take that time to build out what kind of life they really want so that they can actually design that versus going and designing, instead of a cubicle prison, their own business prison per se. So what do you recommend for like a new entrepreneur if they're considering leaving? How do you recommend that they take that time to develop and just do some discovery within?
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for the corporate security of a paycheck that comes in every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. That can be a lot of space in the mind. So, really lean into that and know that, okay, I have this time where I have a paycheck coming in. And most of us tend to be overachievers. If we're looking to start our own business, I'm pretty much sure we're all overperforming in our jobs. So, maybe you can cut back and, at 5% in your job and you're still an overachiever, and spend that energy on that soul searching. I did a bit of travel, which got me out of my regular comfort zone, and helped me see, just getting away from everyday life to see other ways of life, other people doing other jobs, especially because living in New York, I feel like and in fashion, it's a bit of a bubble, right? Yeah. So it's hard to see what's beyond the corporate walls.
Absolutely. And so
Yeah.
many of us get stuck in the whole, okay, I have a paycheck, I have benefits. How
Yeah.
can I leave this because I have this over here? How did you overcome some of those maybe even fears or challenges that you might have had when it came to having a stable paycheck or receiving vacation days, benefits, things like that?
Yeah, that's like the toughest part of leaving for sure.
Yes.
I had a good plan. Like I knew, I took it was about a year after I decided that I was going to leave. I studied coding for about a year.
Wow.
So I felt really comfortable in my skill level. And I also had a bit of money saved. So I knew that I had a certain amount of time. And also that's how I decided to move to Europe. And private health insurance is a fraction of the cost here than it is in the States.
Yes, I know. They
So,
make it
yeah.
they make it really difficult almost for someone to go out and become an entrepreneur because your insurance is like sometimes 5 times the amount when you leave your corporate world, which is crazy to me.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate in those kind of scenarios. But that was the way I kind of, got through the loophole of still having health insurance, and being able to, use my savings as wisely as possible. But I think, doing as much as you can before you leave your 9 to 5. For me, I wish that I would have even done more before I left, because the to-do list of all the things to get up and running can be so long. So I wish that I would have actually started taking on clients before I left. I wasn't really brave enough. Yeah. But my advice for new people would be, do it. There's lots of resources out there. You can do stuff, very slowly, but start getting clients, start getting in, because then from there you'll see, a whole other, list of things that you'll want to do before you leave. So.
I love that you said that, because what usually happens is that sometimes we either wait until we have that moment of like, I'm fed up, I have to leave this 9 to 5 tomorrow. Or we have that moment of like, okay, I'm going to keep planning for my business. And then once we're ready to actually pull the cord, we're like, oh, what do I do now? And having clients ahead of time, like you said, Christine, it's so powerful, because then it almost gives you more of that encouragement to like say, oh, okay, I have some income coming in. I have some clients. Exactly.
Yep.
So you had a plan, and most people don't have a plan. I know, which is scary. I mean, again, some people are okay without a plan, right? But I'm like, I like to plan things out, because for me, if I have no idea, I like to know, I think of like driving, for example. I wouldn't jump in the car and not use my GPS system if I have no idea where I'm going. So I think about like things like that. Like if I need somewhere to help me get there, then I need to also have some sort of guidance, game plan, something to help me get to where it is I want to go.
Totally. Especially because there's so much of that available so easily.
Exactly. So how did you make your game plan for your exit strategy for leaving your 9 to 5?
It was about a period of a year. So I did some, I took very like hardcore coding and WordPress classes. I had some tutoring as well, because I think my fear was really that skill level, because it was changing into a different, totally different basis skill. So that, and getting all of the finances in order, like really planning what my new budget was going to be, which, I used to get manicures every week. I used to get massages every week, and so some of those things I started, less frequently, and, just kind of looking where I could, what was worth it to me to cut versus being working for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and, at the time when I started, I really didn't understand that there were coaches out there to help with this transition. And so, I didn't have any support as far as from a coach.
Yeah.
So I think if I could do it over, maybe I would look at having a group or, some kind of support. So I wasn't doing it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, one thing I want to mention too, is I did take 3 months off before I started full speed ahead in my business, because I was burnt out. Like corporate life, I was ready to just have a rest and do whatever, play, just be like a kid for 3 months. And so I feel like that can be really important if you have the time to do between.
Well, and I love that you said that, because I was talking with another female entrepreneur as well. And we were talking about sometimes you need a detox from the corporate world. And I know some of us don't have the options depending on the situation or the circumstance of how you left your 9 to 5. But if you do plan for it and you were able to at least save in advance, take that time to allow yourself to detox, because you have to think, like, our minds are coming from either extremely structured environments.
Yeah.
And then going into, like, you're now able to go into freedom. Like, I think about the zoo. Like, we're going from the zoo, being locked up in our 9 to 5. We have to do what you say for 9 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden we're now going into freedom nature, where we can run, we can play, we can do all these other things,
Yeah.
And if we don't take that time to embrace this new change, sometimes we just build a repeat version of what we just came out of.
Yes. This is such a good point, because that was one of my challenges early on, was actually changing my mindset from corporate to CEO and stepping into that role. It is not, it's something for me, I really had to work at. And learn and step into, really. Because also I was used to having a boss who I could walk, into her office, the next office over, and run ideas by her, or just even just to talk things through. And not having that too is something you kind of have to plan for. I didn't realize that was going to be something I would miss. But now there's so many groups online that you can have virtual co-working groups, or just different Facebook groups to get that support that we miss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Facebook groups, are you able to find clients through your Facebook groups? I know a lot of people suggest it, but how should a new entrepreneur go about using Facebook groups?
Yeah. So I was really lucky that my first good solid year, all of my business came from referrals.
Wow.
So I was able to put the word out, and, was very, very lucky that I didn't have to do a lot of marketing. And now I'm a little behind the game getting started in Facebook groups and everything. But I have relationships with people in there, and I do lives in certain groups, and I post valuable content on a consistent basis. For me, it's a good place just to form those bonds, have those relationships, partnerships, even like this,
what we're doing. Exactly.
Yeah. Finding like-minded people. And from those relationships, you just never know where a client will come, or what will come of those relationships. So for that, I love Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend it a lot, especially for new entrepreneurs in the online space, because I do know, sometimes we're sitting there and we're pondering okay, how do I now find my customer? Where could they be? But even if you go into those Facebook groups and not necessarily finding your customer, but you're connecting with others who might be able to help you and give you further advice, or you provide value, and vice versa, you can get referrals. You can, eventually maybe even find that community that's a support system for you, and so much more, which I love,
Yeah,
So
it's very true.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you identify your ideal customer when you were getting started? Because so many people want to serve everyone.
Yeah. And I
Especially when
did.
you're new.
Yeah, I did when I was new. Like, I had I did a site for a landscaper, which now I probably would say no to, because it's not, I mean, it's just not really, my client is more female entrepreneurs that are really driven and creative. So, yeah, I feel like for me, it was a process of doing it and working with clients in order to say, that's not really my ideal client, but I love this one. So one of my first experiences with a client was amazing. And she is just an amazing client. So I kind of looked at her as a mold, like, okay, what things of the experience were really amazing that I'd want to duplicate again with a client. And the other thing that I do, and I still do, is look in Facebook groups and see what kind of problems people are having, like what questions they're asking, and start to understand the language of what my ideal client might be struggling with.
I love
kind
that.
of helps narrow it down.
I love that, because what happens is when we try to serve everyone, I believe we're really not talking to who we really need to be talking to. And then sometimes you have the nightmare of customers where you're like, why?
Yes.
Why did I take this on? But if you have no idea who your customer is, you don't know where to search for them. You don't know where to look for them. You don't know how to speak their language and connect. And so being able to really identify just kind of who you enjoy and the experience that you enjoyed, it allows you to really narrow down, okay, how do I find another person like this? Going from employee to entrepreneur, some days we might have had our day structured for us. We might have had everything planned out on what we were going to do in our 9 to 5. How do you now manage your time as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I'm still fairly structured, but what I've done is look at my ideal day. So I have a dog, and I mostly work from home. So now I plan blocks of hour time where I do client work. I have scheduled time where I do social media. And then, at 11:30 to 12:30, I take the dog for a walk and have some lunch. And I plan that in, because for me, that's even though I have a structured schedule, I get to plan in all the fun things that I want within, it's just, if I want to do an hour of client work super early and then take an hour and, go grab, go shopping or something, I do. But I'm very structured with my days. Like, I know, every day from this time, this is what I'm doing. For me, I still have to keep some structure. Otherwise I'll just, do the scroll or kind of end up cleaning the kitchen, and I just have to stay focused.
I hear you. Do you use any tools to help you to stay on track and stay with your time blocking and whatnot?
I don't. I'm pretty analog. I had printed out some really gorgeous like paper scheduling that I use for my week, and for me that's what works, because I use a lot of other programs for email marketing and funnels and WordPress. So I kind of like having my schedule that I get to write with a pencil.
I love that. I still have a planner where you write in it. And everyone laughs at me. They look at me like I'm like 99 years old, and they're like, why are you not using your phone? And the one thing I realized for myself is like, I love that I actually have my planner to write things down, because like you said, most of my stuff is online. I'm always emailing. I'm always doing things through online. Being able to have that like okay, I'm writing things down. I get to really see my stuff visually. It's so helpful. It's very helpful.
Yeah, it's helpful. And I do mindset work every morning, which I do a lot of journaling. And so it kind of ends up, a lot of times will come from my journaling if I have ideas of things, or then they kind of make their way to my, those times when I have time to work on my own site or different client projects. So it's a natural progression.
Now, mindset is really one of the most powerful things. And I think it honestly is your make or break when it comes to entrepreneurship, and honestly, anything that you want to succeed in. So in the mornings or in the afternoons or whenever it is that you take that time for mindset, what would you recommend that a new entrepreneur do to really work on training their mind for success?
Yeah. For me, what works for me is I do combined 45 minutes of meditation and yoga. So it's very fluid. It's just time on the mat with no distractions. And then I take another half an hour with a cup of tea and I just journal. And I don't put any expectations on my journaling. I literally just, whatever I want to write about, I write 3 pages every day. And sometimes I sit down to write and I have literally nothing that I feel like I want to write. And I just start writing, like, I don't know what I want to write today, blah, blah, blah. And a few sentences in, it starts to come out. There's always something that needs to come out. And for me, it's been really useful to get to that heart of what I want, what's going on, what I'm maybe avoiding, or things like that.
I love that.
I say 3 pages a day and you're set.
I love that, because when I first went into entrepreneurship, I did not meditate or focus on like turning off the distractions and allowing myself to just be. And I have always been that way. But when I went into entrepreneurship, I was like, oh, I have to focus. I have to hustle. I have to grind. I have to do all these things. And I realized, though, when you start your day, or if you choose to have it at a different time of day, but for me, when I start my day, having that time of silence, meditation, it could be prayer for some, or journaling, that really can help you set your day up for success. It can help you to eliminate the noise. I know for me, sometimes I get distracted with hearing people give me advice and trying to implement all of it and realizing that it's not really right for my business. And
totally,
you experience that, like you can get clarity when you take that time. So powerful that I love hearing other people talk about mindset, just because that is, I think what so many of us really struggle with, but we don't know what to call that, or we don't realize it yet.
Yeah. It took me a while to get into that practice. And to be honest, I moved in September. I moved and got married. And so it was a bit of, thank you. So it was a month that a lot of my routines were changing, and my mindset work, my yoga and meditation at least, felt, I just wasn't doing it for a month while I got into a new routine in a new house. And I felt it, because even when you're throughout the day, when things come at us, which they do, it's like, if you have that solid base and you're connected, I connect to my heart, then I know, like, yeah, that's a no, like, no, I'm not letting that in, or wow, that's something, I'm going to follow that. It just makes things so much clearer.
I can talk about meditation and mindset all day long if you like.
I know. Yeah, me too.
So limited belief, I know that's something that you mentioned you have overcame. You do any exercises to help you overcome those moments where you're like, oh, I shouldn't price my stuff at that, or, ooh, I'm not an expert yet, I shouldn't go after this type of client. Do you do any exercises to help you overcome those moments?
Yeah, I'll depending on how I'm feeling, sometimes I'll just do a good journal session like before, or I'll listen to different like on YouTube, you can find all kinds of different mantras, success mantras. So I'll put that in and go for a walk. And that usually, kind of reminds me, it's like a cue for my physical body. And, lately I kind of went through in the last few weeks, a little growth spurt when it comes to excuses, where I just became really aware of some excuses that were holding me back. And now something changed, I broke through a little bit of a barrier, and I just go. It's like almost acknowledging, okay, I'm feeling that fear. I am scared to send this quote. I'm scared to get on this call and give her the number of what it's going to be, but I'm going to do it anyways. I acknowledge the fear, but I'm doing this.
I love that because it's so true. If we acknowledge it, then it's like we're standing up to that the bully basically that's telling us that we can't do it. Right. It's like, boom, stand up to it. So, Christine, what advice would you give to a new entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur, especially that is looking to start their business?
I would say the first thing is really get comfortable asking for the sale. Like, as long as you've started something, if you're looking for your first clients, get comfortable with asking for the sale and putting yourself out there. Because if you're not asking for the sale, people are never going to know that they can buy from you, or what you're offering, or what your expertise is. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
That's great. Yeah. Now, what is one mantra that you live by within your business?
Okay. So it's a little bit more related to money, but when I get money in, there's more where that came from. Ooh. So anytime someone pays me, I am always, there's more where that came from. Anytime I pay a business expense, the money is like, there's more where that came from. So it's all about abundance, and there's no scarcity here.
I love that, because as entrepreneurs, we have to really embrace prosperity, and also being okay for like more money to flow and come to us. And we have to like cut off those mind blocks that keep us from being able to generate money, because it's all a mindset thing, I believe.
Totally. I believe so too. Yep. And the next client coming, it's always, there's more where that came from.
Absolutely. I'm going to live by that with you.
Cool. Yes.
So I have enjoyed today's Corporate Misfit podcast, where we went over how you became an actual corporate misfit and started building your own empire. So thank you for sharing those confessions with us. We loved it.
Thank you.
Now, how can we stay connected with you?
Yeah. So my website is my main hub, where I share content, and you can you can find me on social media from there. It's ChristineLindebak.com.
Love it. Thank you again, Christine. It has been a pleasure chatting with you. I loved our conversation, and I can't wait to see more corporate misfits leave their 9-to-5 and build their own empire.
Awesome. Me too.
If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Corporate Misfit Podcast, we invite you to check out the Corporate Misfit Club. The Corporate Misfit Club is the essential resource for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start or grow a business they actually love. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur in your startup phase, or simply thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship, we've got your back, girl. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive members-only discount perks, and unlimited tools. We also have a supportive community of women where our members share stories, experiences, their wins, and business tips. The Corporate Misfit Club is the perfect place to be to start, launch, or grow a business. So check it out at corporatemisfitclub.com.